First, I'm gonna give you guys some background. A lot of the pros have been coming out, and I said this on my stream, and it became like a thing. So, like I said it on stream 3 days ago, and then it got clipped and put on Reddit. But like, it's not just me. I think a bunch of other, like, I got my info because I'm just getting this info from pros and looking at interviews and stuff. And basically, a lot of players are saying that the ping is really inconsistent. It says 35. Ignored the fact that it says 35. Pro players think that it's more like 60. Some say that it's more like 80. And I think the most frustrating part about it, it feels inconsistent. It's fine almost if it's like 60 or 80. It's pretty honestly terrible, actually, if it's 60 or 80. The fact of the matter is, if it's switching up all the time, then it feels like you're playing with like huge ass ankle weights. I guess to give you guys a background, the reason why there's ping at all and not a land environment, I already went over this before, but just to sum it up, China's in a pretty intense lockdown, so they are not allowed to fly out and fly back in, or maybe the logistics of flying back in from, you know, out of the country is like completely unreasonable. So in order for MSI to have the best region in the world, you know, one of the best regions in the world, I should say, it's not going to be MSI without LPL, basically. So in order to have it keep going, they're just doing something that they've never done before, which is they're trying to recreate the ping that China is going to get from home to MSI, which is in Korea, Busan, for every team, and it's artificially done. So, because everyone is actually physically there, it has to be done artificially. People have been complaining about how shitty it feels because it doesn't feel like 35 ping, which is what the intent is. And it's also unfair because they have to play on, essentially with packet loss, they have to play with like inconsistent fluctuating ping, which is completely throwing off everyone off their game. I mean, I don't even need to go into how important ping is, okay? Like, it's don't get me fucking worked up on that. It's unfair because all of these measures are put in to accommodate RNG, LPL's #1 seed for MSI. It's all done for their sake so that they can play. And ultimately, everyone else is having to play with this disadvantage and inconvenience, kind of invalidating part of the tournament in terms of mechanical skill for RNG. And it turns out that they're actually playing at a humongous handicap, and RNG gets to play with a huge advantage against every other team because they play at actual 35 stable MS. Everyone else is playing on like 80, fluctuating up and down. This is kind of the aftermath of that. So it says, a message from Alex Francois, Global Head of Competitive Operations, Riot Games. Following extensive technical evaluation of the competitive and training environments during the first 3 days of 2022 MSI, we discovered following day 3 there's a discrepancy in the latency being reported in-game logs for all matches versus what was being experienced in the Busan venue. That's what I'm talking about, the difference between, it says 35, but it feels more like 80. To address this issue, we are making a configuration change starting with today's competition in order to reduce the overall latency to the intended level. Additionally, because this issue was specifically affected teams playing from Busan, the matches involving RNG were held with an unintended disparity in latency between competing teams. So that's what giving them that advantage. As a result, we've determined it's the best interest of the competitive integrity to replay all 3 of these matches. These replayed games will be finished with all other group stage competition by Sunday, May 15th. The replacement games will be held beginning tomorrow. We apologize to our players, teams, and fans. We will continue to work with players to monitor the playing environments in our commitment to maintain the tournament's competitive integrity. So the tournament's competitive integrity is already kind of fucked. Really complicated situation. This is the first time, I think, in LC, or like not LCS, in like competitive league history where they're making teams replay a match at an international tournament like this, and this many matches. I think in the past there have been, I feel like maybe like in like season 2 or season 3 Worlds, maybe like this happened like once, but I'm not actually 100% sure. I feel like this might be the actual first time where they're just straight up making teams replay games like this. Although I could be wrong. Maybe it's like the second time. Anyways, the whole thing is that it's a pretty big deal. You know, it's a pretty big deal. They already played 3 games. They're going to make them replay all 3 of those games. But I think my gut instinct is that this is fair because no doubt RNG is better than every team in their group. It really cheapens their win when the teams playing against them, right? These are more minor regions playing against RNG, getting turbo stomped by, you know, top 2 region in the world. And they can just say that, what the fuck? Where's the competitive integrity here? I played with a huge handicap. I played with 80 ping. How the fuck are we ever supposed to win against not only the better team, you know, but while they're just getting like such an unfair advantage? And I think it probably feels, in my opinion, I would feel fine with that, being RNG and knowing that I can win again and it made a more fair fight. You know, how fucked up is it to know that you beat somebody and it's, you know, partly it's cheapened and invalidated because they were handicapped? Like, that doesn't feel good. And then also on the flip side, it feels really unfair when you're the one being handicapped. I don't think that this is really a bad decision by Riot at all. I think that Riot completely dropped the ball and fucked up this entire tournament by messing up this ping thing. And that's what they go into next. They say, what has Riot done today to investigate this latency issue? I'm actually going to skip all this. I don't really care. It's completely obvious to everyone who's been playing on TR. I actually, look at this Reddit thread, right? I talked about this 3 days ago. And that's when MSI, this was before MSI even started. Oh, actually, no, it's actually the first day of MSI. It's day 1. But still, I mean, this is something that people have known for days. I think it's completely on Riot dropping the ball here that they didn't fix the problem, and everyone knew about the problem. You know, like, it's so obvious. People are telling you, yo, the ping is completely fucked up. It doesn't feel like 35. Maybe you should trust the players and fix that promptly before starting the tournament. So it's completely on them. I think most of the blame should be put on Riot here. Just curious, would you have a similar mindset if there are better teams in the group? So that's where things get tricky. It's like if there's an evenly matched game, again, like think about it this way: if RNG plays a really strong team and it's a really evenly matched game, and they barely win a team fight, and they go back and find out that they won this game partly because they're playing on 35 ping and the enemy team is playing on 80. Doesn't that just feel so incredibly unfair? I would be fucking furious if I lost a close game against RNG. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know, man. I think they should have to replay the games regardless. Why didn't Riot catch this sooner? Why wasn't this tested? And now this is funny because this is actually the question that I have the most, right? And they wrote the least amount on this part because I don't really know I hope they just say that they fucked up. Let's read it. Riot performed extensive testing prior to and during the tournament, and our tooling and playtesting showed there wasn't a material variance in ping. However, after receiving more detailed player feedback, we designed and implemented custom debugging methods that identified our latency tool wasn't calculating and displaying the correct ping value for players at the venue. I don't really know what to say, man. I think they completely fucked up. MSI is supposed to be second only to Worlds, and it's one of 2 international tournaments of the year. If you're a League of Legends fan, you look forward to 2 things: MSI and Worlds. If you're a regional fan of your team, then, if you're like a regional fan of like some teams that are native to you, you're looking forward to like playoffs and maybe some regular season games, MSI and Worlds. Like, this is like one of like the very few times in the year where you cannot fuck up, and they fucked up so bad here. I feel like this explanation, it just doesn't cut it for me. I think Riot should feel really ashamed that they let this situation happen. It just makes MSI feel so bad. This MSI is going to go down as the one that people probably look the least fondly on, means the least, has the least like stakes involved. It's total BS, but China owns Riot. What can you do? So I think taking all the bias aside from, you know, Tencent owning Riot Games, I do think that China is the biggest region in the world in terms of player base, and MSI just wouldn't be MSI if they didn't allow China to play. I can understand the logic, and I can totally see that they thought they bit off more than they can chew. They thought 35 ping, okay, this is an acceptable amount of ping for everyone to be playing on. 35 is not gonna be game breaking. But then, you know, as you guys saw, like you see plays like this that would literally never happen. I can't find it. Whatever. Point still stands. There's just a lot of, they didn't clip it. They didn't clip the Graves thing. It's all good. It's all good. Yeah, I think this is scuffed. And then this is what actually got people riled the fuck up. So this one, it was pretty tame. I think people had a pretty reasonable takes in these comments. But then this one got completely riled. Like, this one riled up the community really hard because it says right here, RNG's Twitter. This is probably the only thing that you could say that would make everyone dogpile, like the entire worldwide community dogpile on you for something like this. You gotta completely, so like just to unpack like why, it's pretty much just the fact that they say that we're gonna go through even through unfair treatment is like such a passive aggressive way of saying like we're being unfairly treated. No, you're actually, yeah, you actually are being unfairly treated. Just the other way, where you have a completely unfair advantage, and the entire tournament has been warped around having you guys participate. So everybody is suffering, and the tournament's integrity is suffering already just so that RNG can participate. And you guys had a crazy unfair advantage in 3 games already. So why are you now complaining that you have to replay 3 games? That's just so toxic. So yeah, now everyone's gonna shit on them even harder, and I think giving a lot of ammo to like the, you know, K Kona brother racists who think that like China is like having this global conspiracy to further RNG or something. And I think there's some good takes on this tweet as well. Can I ask what is seen as unfair about the way that things have played out? Not trying to start an argument, just looking for a viewpoint from someone closer to the LPL scene. So this guy says, we all assume that there's really something wrong with ping, but why none of these players from teams didn't inform the problem with judges or Riots? That's actually wrong. Everyone did inform Riot, and Riot dropped the ball. So that's pretty much on them. Literally, Faker, I talked about it on my stream. Tons of other pro players talked about it. I think Impact. I'm trying to remember exactly like all the pro players that said something. I'm absolutely positive they did. To restart the game is definitely fair to the opponent, but why RNG only? Other teams have the right to perform better. What does that mean? So the reason why is because all teams besides RNG are experiencing this up and down laggy ass packet loss ping, just not you guys, just not RNG. What's up with that? I'm just confused. For a team that is privileged enough to compete remotely, wearing headsets instead of headphones, have no referees and hear no pink noise while competing, you sure talk about unfair treatment when the only team that was playing on 35 ping. That's a pretty combative way to put it, but and I think some of these are probably not fair. Like the fact that they have no referees. I think they just have no referees in person, but they have like virtual referees that are watching the cameras. And the reason why is because, like I said, China's in a crazy lockdown, and I feel like that there's really not much you can do about that one. Calling it unfair treatment when your opponent's played on higher ping than you is not the move. It sucks for you, and it should have been avoided, but this is the fair solution. Yeah, I think this is, that's pretty reasonable. I think a lot of these takes are pretty reasonable, and I'm happy that people are able to do it without just resorting to like racism or like super contentious, just like really, really aggressive and contentious language. Disagrees, and he said, let's see what's here. I don't think you can call replaying the matches unfair. Is it shit? Yes. Does it punish RNG for something out of their control? Also yes. But it is the only fair way to obtain results played on a level playing field. I agree with that. Absolutely. So, oh wait, what is this? A team that abided by the rules should not be punished due to organizers' Riot's own mistake. Riot should take responsibility and apologize to the teams for giving them higher ping, rather than make the team that followed the rules replay. Yeah, that just doesn't, no. That's just totally wrong. The logic doesn't hold though. Riot messed up 100%, but you're punishing the teams playing against RNG by not replaying the match. Sure, it sucks for RNG to have to replay, but the first win was stacked in their favor by more stable ping. It's like, you had basically a free win, right? Like a 35 ping pro team versus an 80 ping pro team is like an unbelievable advantage. So you basically just had 3 wins gifted to you, and now you have to actually play the real matches. I don't really see the issue here. I think RNG then made another tweet afterwards, which I'm gonna find right now. Holy shit, how the fuck am I supposed to read this? Guys, how do you make an image this long? Does anyone know? How the fuck can you make an image this long? A few words. A few words. A few words we want to say. Man, if this is a few words, I do not want to see when this guy gets long-winded. This is the worst description of what he did. I'm the RNG head coach, Ken Zhu. I'd like to have a few words with the fans about RNG's rematch of MSI. When I got up at noon today, I found that the team members and managers in the training room were talking about something. I learned that we will rematch the first 3 days game of Group B of this MSI. Previously, we temporarily led the group with a 3-0. You may know the reasons, so I won't repeat it. In short, because the delay between South Korea and China was inconsistent, Riot made the rematch decision considering various factors. After learning the whole story, my first reaction was puzzled. In my decades of employment, I've never encountered such a thing, and the players and other managers were even more confused. At that time, there were about 2 hours before the game. I deeply feel sorry that everyone, just like me, seems to have been seriously affected. As the coach of the team and the leader of the team, at that moment, I suddenly realized that I had to calm down. By the way, this reads like a first-person novel. I don't want to hear your diary, bro. I mean, like, maybe I do. I don't know. It just literally reads like a diary. It reads like an autobiography. Immediately, I had called everyone at the base and held an emergency meeting. The most common thing I said at the meeting was professional. I'm a professional coach. Players of RNG are professional players. We are a professional club. In any case, no matter how much injustice and difficulty there are, we must respect our own profession, respect the game, respect our opponents, respect our fans, and respect all the audience. So the top priority is to focus on finishing today's game, which is the most important thing for us at that moment. Fortunately, although the rematch thing had a more or less impact on us before the game, we still successfully completed today's game. Here, I hope everyone can give some applause to my boys. As young people in their 20s, they can still finish today's game calmly, and under such unexpected events, they deserve it. Okay, this is getting seriously dramatized for what it is, man. Congrats, man. They played a game, and they know they have to play 3 extra games before groups is over. It's not the end of the world. Since April 1st, we've been living a life of staying at home in the training base in accordance with the requirements of Shanghai's epidemic prevention and control. Therefore, we have no way to visit South Korea to participate in this MSI. According to our actual situation, Riot allows us to participate online. Anyway, we are grateful to Riot for giving us this opportunity to participate. However, the actual situation has extended many difficulties to face. From the LPL Spring Playoffs to the present, we must not only cooperate with the government. During this time, I felt unprecedented pressure. That felt like you cut off the sentence right here. I don't know if you can imagine it, but people who have recently lived in Shanghai may be able to experience it better. Take our game days as an example. Our training ends after 3 o'clock in the morning. After washing up, it may be 4 or 5 o'clock. Not long after I fell asleep, I was called to do nucleic acid test at 8 or 9 in the morning. After finishing the nucleic acid test, I went to bed and got up at noon to prepare for the game. What is that? Sorry, I've never heard of that before. It's a type of viral diagnostic test for COVID, but like, what does it look like? Is it just this? Like, how long does it take? It's just a PCR. I mean, guys, I've done a dozen or more PCRs. It takes a couple minutes. Okay, let's keep going. After they finished the COVID test, I went to bed and got up at noon to prepare for the game. We start the pre-match debugging and preparation more time than other normal teams. We cannot warm up in the pre-match rank because the training room needs to be vacated in advance. No one can appear in the training room during this period, and the whole process is in the video of monitoring to ensure the fairness of the game. Even in such a situation, we have not made any announcement and actively cooperate with all parties to complete this MSI. We set up the training room by ourselves, adjusted the computer settings by ourselves, adjusted the audio by ourselves, and even the interviews were done by the staff themselves. Everything during the period is completed under the supervision of Riot, and we do our best to complete various requirements. Man, this guy's version of a few words is, I mean, maybe it's a translation thing as well. This is like when you fucking have a 1,000-word essay due and you're locked in, you're in the zone. I think they just ripped a page out of this guy's diary, man. Although I also have one more point. If it was the first day of the game, the delay was inconsistent and led to a replay, I fully understand it. But after 3 days of matching, people found this problem and asked us to replay. Isn't it too much? But all we can do is accept and cooperate. I also received a lot of private messages from fans and friends, many of them concerned, and some want us to quit. We have thought about quit from the competition when we encounter such a thing, but when we calm down and think about it, a real strong person should not retreat in spite of difficulties. But at this time, he should rise up to it. Did I miss it? Oh, I skipped a paragraph. That's it, we still receive a penalty for the rematch, and even if it was not our fault, we could only accept it silently. In such a predicament, the players insisted on training and competition in order to present to the audience a great game. The sudden rematch hits all of us badly. I guess I missed that. I could have skipped that one and nothing. It didn't really add too much. So even if we will play 3 different opponents in a row in a super back-to-back, that should not belong to us. In this regard, I also express my position on behalf of the team. No matter what kind of difficulties we encounter, we will insist on finishing this MSI, and we will not be defeated by various factors and cooperate with various official requirements. I hope everyone can look at this thing calmly and give us the greatest support and shouting on the field. Looking forward to seeing you in the offline competition as soon as possible. Thank you all. This guy is a man of few words. Short and terse and to the point. Could not begin to describe this man. I was left wanting more. He's that old tough veteran. He's that old guy on the porch in a rocking chair, like spitting tobacco into a cup. When you ask him about anything, he just kind of grunts. He like mumbles one word. Yeah, maybe I do have a gamer attention span. I don't know. So what did he really say here? I guess to sum it up, he feels like they have an unfair number of difficulties, and he wants you to sympathize with their situation, which is, I guess, pretty hard on him and the players. And he feels like it's unfair. The subtext of this is just they feel like they're getting fucked over, and they don't. There was a little bit of part about them feeling grateful for being able to participate in MSI. Royal may give up. Royal might give up. This guy's response in a vacuum is fine. So I think if they had come out with this right away, that would have been absolutely amazing. What really soured everyone's and skewed everyone's perspective on RNG is just this post. Whoever made this post lost RNG. Like, they have created so much hate for RNG, because if I read this first, I would say, I can actually sympathize, that, like, I don't know what it's like over there. It could actually be really difficult for them. And he's just saying, it's a lot for them to process all this stuff, but they're going to accept it and they're going to cooperate. This by itself is not that bad. I'm pretty indifferent to it. I think it was professional. Bit long-winded, of course. We're just memeing on it. I'm okay with it. This is fucked. Whoever tweeted this, basically ruined their reputation for the rest of MSI. Maybe even, you know, onwards, because people are not going to look fondly on RNG if they win this MSI. And people are going to be actively rooting against RNG because they came off like whiny bitches in this post. They really did. I could not express like how much of a crybaby you have to be to tweet something like this after that. And this guy's talking about being professional and rising to the face of adversity. I mean, this guy crumbled insta. Yeah, if it was just an intern, I mean, I swear to God, he did so much damage because that intern represents RNG to the global community. This tweet does represent RNG. In this case, though, I mean, this guy's post got way more traction. Way more traction. This one had 500 retweets, 7.5k likes. This one got, yeah, absolutely like a fraction of that. Fourth. Both posts didn't say the same thing because I think when you look at this second post by the coach through the lens of this, you're getting really biased. Like, try to take them like one by one. This one by itself is a whole nothing burger. It's like a nothing sandwich. You know, he's saying, oh, maybe this, maybe that. It's really tough for us. Thank you for supporting us. It's a pretty neutral post in my opinion. It doesn't really put any blame. Make it feel like they're bitter. Doesn't make it feel like they're like getting screwed over. So I think people have a right to feel upset and bitter at the situation. Like Jojo, this guy says, everyone feels an absurd difference. You can't even compare it. It felt like we were playing with 80 ms before, and today was hovering around 25, which was much smoother to play on. So on this game, there was no ping diff, I assume. I think one thing I kind of am like, I'm not super cool with is the people who think that this is like some sort of grand conspiracy to make RNG win MSI. I think you'd have to be you'd kind of have to disrespect their intelligence to think that, because realistically, their entire win is going to be invalidated if there's any competitive advantage whatsoever for RNG. It's just such a conspiracy, right? Like, oh, Riot set it up. Like, Tencent set it up so that every team would have to play on higher ping than RNG, and they didn't think that any players would notice or care. And it's like, no, actually, like, I think, like, what you can attribute to malice and, like, insidious intent, you can actually just most of the time attribute to just, like, ignorance and stupidity. Riot just completely, they actually did want to make it fair, and they just couldn't do it. Like, that's what's the simplest and most observable and obvious answer, because this is something that's literally never been done before. Like, incompetence is usually the right answer. At least we can stop the delusion regions won't complain if anything is remotely unfair to them. Does RNG think that it is far that the other teams had to play with, it is fair, is what he meant to say. Other teams had to play with ping actually higher than theirs. RNG also failed to realize that every other team in Busan is traveling 90 minutes to the stadium each day. Despite 90 to 120 minutes of dead time they spend replaying those matches, they still come out ahead in terms of dead time compared to every other team. I mean, I think that there's just a lot of ignorance on both sides, like, straight up. I think that RNG is definitely, yeah, they're out of their mind if they think that, like, doing a 2-minute COVID test in the morning and having some dead time that they can't use is completely unique to them. Everyone who's been to Worlds or MSI knows that there is just so much random time, right? Like, there's just so much time that you have to waste. Even just going through security every single day takes time, since all the teams arrive at the exact same time and you're usually bottlenecked by some people. Mini COVID test, baby rage. Yeah, it's rough, man. This was not the move. We will play our matches despite the massive advantage given exclusively to our team being reduced to a slightly less massive advantage. Well, I think that about sums it up. I think there's not much more to say about it.